What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Harry the Horse Barbecue. I'm Harry, and today we are going to be cleaning and restoring a Weber kettle from the 1970s. Take a look. It's rusty, a little crusty, a little dirty, and we're gonna take her from this to this. Shiny, clean, and brand spanking new. Stick around to see how I clean up this bad mamma jamma. Let's get it.
Harry the Horse Barbecue.
So cleaning and restoring a Weber kettle. Each Weber is not created the same. Now you might be saying to yourself, Mr. Horse, how do you know that Weber kettle is from the 1970s? Well, linked below is a website to Weber Kettle Club. This is a community-based website where people over years and years and years have just collaborated and combined a ton of information on existing Weber kettles to pinpoint approximate ages of different Weber kettles. I'll show you the details on this Weber that point to it being constructed in the 1970s, but this kettle is actually in pretty good shape for being made in the 1970s and being previously owned. Now, the Weber Kettle Club website gives you an amazing array of resources and detailed instructions on how to actually clean and restore these old Weber kettles. So unlike some of these other videos, I'll be using very minimal chemicals and basically a lot of elbow grease to restore this beautiful kettle back to its former glory. So in order to restore this Weber kettle, we gotta go take a deep look into this Weber kettle. Let's go. Like you all saw in the intro, this is the Weber kettle that I picked up off of Facebook Marketplace. But starting at the base, these are the existing Weber wheels that are in actually great shape. You can see the triangle down below has got a little rust on it. These legs could use a little work. Skipping leg day, I see. We have the ash pan down here. That is in decent shape, but could use a nice cleaning. A couple of vents on the bottom that I'll show y'all later. And this is actually a 22.5-inch Weber kettle, which is pretty rare. You can see how this vent, which is in pretty good shape, is different than the existing vents of today. So this patent here, 3538906, was actually granted to Weber Kettle in November of 1970. The patent started to appear on Weber kettles around 1973 in the Weber catalog. This Weber handle is actually made of wood and it's in very, very good shape. Love to see that. If we take a look under the hood, you can see the grates are a little rusted. This inside of the bowl needs some work, either ash buildup, some corrosion, nothing really rusting through it all. The bottom charcoal grate is actually in great condition as well. And then underneath the lid is not looking too shabby as well. Got a little bit of some grease, some stuff starting to flake off here and there, but nothing that a little scraping, a little elbow grease can't take care of. Overall, this kettle's in great shape, and I can't wait to just give it a little love and restore it. So let's get started with that process. All right, y'all, we had a brief downpour, which I consider to be a pre-soak for all of the parts of this Weber kettle, but you can see I've disassembled the Weber kettle. I've got the legs, the triangle, the bottom bowl, in which now you can see the 3 bottom vents. Took the wheels off with the little wheel caps, got the 2 grates, the ash pan, and the lid or the top bowl. So now let's start cleaning this bad mamma jamma while it's not raining. The first thing we'll tackle is the ashtray right in the bucket. This is gonna take a little bit of time, so I wanna start here. And we're just gonna fill up this bucket until we cover the ashtray with water. We're gonna go into this container with some CLR, anywhere from a half cup to a cup. Should do just fine. And what this should do is eat away at some of the corrosion and caked on bits that are stuck on this ashtray. So then we can start to scrub it off and polish her up. On to the next step. Oh my God. Next thing we're gonna do is start to polish up these legs. And we're gonna use some what's called emery cloth, and critical for this entire process, some steel wool, specifically the quadruple 0. All I'm gonna start to do is clean up some of this corrosion and turn the metal more into this kind of shine. You can see how grooved up this is from being in the kettle. So I'm essentially gonna make strokes that are going lengthwise and start to scour the metal down just a wee bit to start to bring back that shine. Just after quick scraping, you can see that I'm actually starting to scrape the metal, which is fine because we'll buff that out with the steel wool. Before I show you these results, I have a massive disclaimer for you guys, and this is literally listed on the Weber Kettle Club website. This process that I'm doing with these legs is strictly for pre-2013 Weber Kettle aluminum style legs. The newer models are plated differently, so this process will not work. So definitely check out the Weber Kettle Club website below and do your own research prior prior to cleaning up your kettle. But as a comparison, this is a leg I have yet to touch. Tons of gunk and rust and gross grime there. And here's the leg that I've only hit with the emery cloth up to this point. It's scratched up, which is gonna happen, but you can see that I've taken off a lot of that gunk. Some of these dings and stuff aren't gonna come out, which is totally fine, but it's looking nice and shiny. Also, one thing to note is when you're using the emery cloth, make vertical strokes the entire way so all the scratches are aligned in the same direction. If you're going all over the place with it, then you're only gonna make more work for yourself when you're trying to buff out those scratches with the steel wool. Super fine quadruple zero steel wool. Same thing, just make those strokes up and down and you'll be done before you know it. And just after a few minutes with the steel wool, that leg is looking phenomenal. But look at the difference. It is amazing to see. Scuffed and dirty and cruddy, shiny, silky, and smooth. I'm gonna do these other two legs and then I'll come back to show you how to polish these bad mamma jammas up. Look at that glow up. Considering where these started, that is a massive improvement with just a little bit of elbow grease. I gave them a rinse off with the hose and I rinsed the inside of the legs. Now let's move on. I pulled this ashtray out of the CLR after about 30 minutes. We're gonna scrub her down with the emery cloth, then buff her out with the steel wool. In this case, I'm gonna start with some circular motions. All right, this did not clean up as great as I wanted it to. Some of the stuff is just gunked on, but it's just the ash pan. It's not a huge deal. We did clean it up quite a bit from where it was. Back of this did clean up really nicely, but I think the last thing we're gonna do is hit this and the legs with some metal polish. So I'm just gonna use some of this Brasso. Found this at the hardware store. We're just gonna apply a little bit to a clean rag. Start off with a small amount. We'll just grease this puppy up. And this baby is shining like new. Let's hit the rest of the legs. These legs are all glossed up and bossed up, looking way better than where we started. Let's hit that ashtray. I don't expect this to clean up too well, but here we are. One of the last major metal pieces to clean is the triangle. Now this just has some rust on it that needs to be cleaned up, and then we can hit it with some metal polish. So I'm just gonna tackle this with the super fine steel wool. Let's see where this gets us. Whew, little update for y'all. I'm out here sweating like crazy for y'all. So why don't y'all hit that like button and that subscribe button for me. In the meantime, we had to throw the triangle into the CLR bath. It cleaned up pretty nice, but these portions right here, those little triangular sections and those sections at the bottom are tough to get with the emery cloth or the steel wool. So I'm gonna try and soak them out a little bit. So while that soaks, why don't we attack this bottom bowl? So according to the Weber Kettle Club website, the best way to get after these bowls is just by using a plain old razor. These Weber kettles have a very durable enamel coating on them. So we're gonna scrape this down to the enamel and hope that we can get this shining like new. So after just a few minutes of scraping, you can clearly see the difference. I'm gonna work in quadrants here, but it's raining and it's about to thunderstorm. So I'll BRB. All right, and after an intense downpour, I was able to resume scraping and we cleaned up this bowl to look beautiful. I then rinsed it with the hose just to get rid of all the particulates. And now's the time where we can scrub this with our steel wool and some soap and water. Please do not attempt this method with an updated or newer version of a Weber kettle. Again, this is a Weber 22.5-inch from the 1970s. They don't build them like they used to anymore. So please, while you're cleaning, do your research and make sure you know what tools are necessary and appropriate when cleaning your Weber. Let's get to scrubbing. For this portion of this, you can feel free to use a degreaser, an all-purpose cleaner, whatever you think fits the bill. For me, this doesn't seem greasy, it just seems a little cruddy or chuddy. So I'm just trying to work out all the chud that's in there, buff out some of the scratches. She's feeling smooth all the way around. Let's go rinse her out. Good Lord, she's almost like brand new, looking beautiful compared to where we started. Now, we gotta do the same exact thing to the lid. Let's go grab it. And if you are doing this method, feel free to change out your razor blades as often as you like. Ooh. And just the same as the base, this top is looking amazing. Let's buff it out with the steel wool and our Dawn dish soap and water. Especially this rim, because I wasn't able to really scrape the rim. You really want to get in there with the steel wool to get any of that grime out of there. And she's looking nearly brand new at this point. I am stoked at how this looks. And since it's cleaned up so well on the inside, we're gonna do the outside just the same. I don't think there's any scraping required because there's no real intense grime or anything on the outside of this. So we're just gonna go steel wool and soap and water. That is looking like perfection. Let's hit the base. And yet again, looking beautiful. I'm getting close to assembling this. Since I got the soap and water out, let's clean those wheels. These wheels are in great shape. All they are just a little dirty. They just need a sponge and some soapy water. I don't think they need much more than that. And there's the difference, y'all. Nothing crazy. Let's clean this one. Here's a quick update on the triangle, y'all. You can see the areas where the metal is welded has proven very difficult to remove the rust, even after soaking in the CLR for an extended period of time. I'm gonna leave it like this, but this looks a lot better than where we started. Pretty clean all the way around, not caked with rust. Now, before I get to those grates, I'm gonna reassemble this bad mamma jamma. She looks pretty good to start. I'd say there's a couple areas on here I might be able to buff out a little bit. Another thunderstorm is rolling through, so I'm gonna pack this in and I'll meet y'all back tomorrow to finish out those grates and finish up this beast. After 4 days of raining, it has finally stopped and I can continue cleaning this kettle. The last thing on the to-do list is to take care of these grates. Here is the bottom charcoal grate. I don't know if y'all can see this, but it's pretty rusted over, as is the main cooking grate. Before I enlist the CLR, I'm gonna try and scrape this down with a metal wire brush, hit it with some really extra coarse steel wool, and hopefully that'll bring these back to life. Let's get it. So this really isn't doing much. Let's see if the coarse steel wool and some water will start to knock off some of this rust. I meant soap and water. I don't know if y'all can see this. Hopefully you can. The steel wool is actually starting to take care of the rust. It's just gonna be very meticulous. So we're still gonna have to just give this a lot of elbow grease to knock off a lot of this rust. All right, y'all, and after about an hour of scrubbing, I've gotten these to the point where they're, usable, but I was able to sort of clean up most of the rust on this. There's still a bit of, caked on grime and stuff like that, but we're working against almost 50 years of wear and tear and grease and grime and all this buildup. So it's not gonna be the easiest thing to get all of it off and make it look brand new. If you decide you wanna do this at home, you could always replace these old grates with brand new ones, but I just think there's something cool about breathing new life into some old things that just need a little tender love and care. But this isn't looking too bad. It's totally usable in the grill, and I think a little bit of oil and a little bit of heat will bring this to looking super sweet inside the kettle. As for the charcoal grate, it doesn't look great, no pun intended, but we'll spray this with some oil, throw some lit charcoal on it. It should come back to life and work really well moving forward. Now I scrubbed these with soap and water using steel wool, and then that wasn't working so great, so then I filled up a tub with water and some CLR, and I let these soak for a little bit, and I also used a little bit of Barkeeper's Friend to try to get rid of the rust, but this is the best we can get them. Let's totally reassemble this kettle and see what it's looking like. Not looking too shabby, y'all. There is one last thing I want to do with this kettle. Let's take care of that handle just a little bit. And all I'm gonna do is hit it with a little food grade mineral oil. This is the same oil I use on my cutting board, just to help condition the handle. I'm not gonna stain this, I'm not gonna paint it, I'm not gonna do anything. I just wanna keep it as conditioned and usable as possible, because it is in pretty good condition, but a nice little wipe down to keep the wood from splitting, to keep it moist, hydrated, and looking fresh to death. Plus, we don't want to damage the Weber engraving on the handle. I think that's pretty sweet. Not a lot of effort, but it makes it look so nice. I think all that hard work deserves a crisp, cold Canadian Pilsner. That's the stuff. All in all, I think this Weber kettle cleaned up beautifully, and with enough tender love and care, this Weber kettle should be able to last at least another 50 years. Thank y'all for tuning in to Harry the Horse Barbecue. I really appreciate you checking out this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Every subscription really helps me out. Make sure to leave a like on this video and let me know in the comments below what you want to see next featuring this Weber kettle. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we're posting new content, and you can follow me on Instagram at Harry the Horse Barbecue. Tag me me so I can see what y'all are cooking, because it really inspires me to get outside and clean. And with that being said, there's only one more thing, y'all. You heard this one straight from the horse's mouth. We'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace. Now time to fire up that kettle.